A low rumble in my stomach signaled the daily return of my craving for dark chocolate. I've noticed that the craving seems to have its own inconvenient schedule. It always kicks in at around 11 o'clock p.m. This bad habit is why I frequent the creepiest and most awkward grocery store in town. For some reason, I only buy one bar of chocolate at a time. I tell myself that each bar will be the last, at least for a while, but almost every night I give in to temptation and go to Ponce Market. It's the only grocery store in my hometown that stays open past 11. Unfortunately, it does not have a self-checkout, and I'm forced to engage in a few minutes of uncomfortable small talk with the cashier. I've come to accept this as a fair punishment for my nightly walk of shame. However, my most recent trip there has me considering swearing off dark chocolate forever. Last Friday night, I was once again walking under the bright fluorescent lights with my favorite brand of organic dark chocolate in hand. Despite the mild shame that always accompanies me on this errand, I was in good spirits. I had big plans of going back to my apartment, pouring a glass of wine, and reading a book under my absurdly heavy-weighted blanket. That might sound like a lame Friday night for a 23-year-old single woman, but what can I say? I'm an old soul and a bit of a nerd. I was so absorbed in thinking about the relaxing night ahead of me that I didn't even look at the old lady at the register until she had scanned my only item. "Is that all for you?" she said with a heavy accent. I could place it immediately. It was Castilian. My family is originally from Spain and we go back to visit every summer. "Yes, that's all, thank you." "If you don't mind me asking, are you from Spain?" "Yes, I am, but I moved here when I was a young girl, much like you are now," she said. "Why did you move here?" "I wish I could move to Spain, it's so romantic there." "Believe me, the grass is always greener on the other side. It doesn't matter where you're at. What matters is youth and beauty, and you have both in spades," she said. "That's very sweet of you, thank you. Don't let them slip away from you, or one day, you'll be on my side of the counter." "Nonsense, you're beautiful, don't talk about yourself like that." No, it's true, I'm old and withered. When a flower is full of life, it's proudly displayed for all to see, but when it fades and droops to the ground, it's tossed out and forgotten. It's just the way of the world. You're making me sad. There's more to life than just being young. Only someone who is in full bloom could say such a thing. Youth is all there is, it's life expressed as it should be. I struggled to find a response to her as I found myself edging closer to the door. I don't mean to drone on about being a sad old lady, these ideas just run in my blood, I guess. Believe it or not, some of my ancestors came to America in search of the fountain of youth a long time ago. Wow, that's interesting. I wish they'd found it. I'd take a drink. Maybe you can. What do you mean? Don't let me keep you if you need to go. I just get kind of lonely up here during the late shift. No, I'm in no rush, I said. I don't usually like talking to strangers this much, but she had honestly piqued my interest. Well, the house I live in was passed down to me from my parents. Their great-grandparents left it to them after they died. That's why my parents moved here in the first place. That house is one of the oldest in town. My ancestors built it by hand. Anyways, a few months ago I was having some remodeling done, and the construction crew discovered something unexpected during demolition. One of the floorboards in the living room was hollow. It always sounded funny when you'd step on it, but I never imagined it to be anything more than just another sound that an old house makes. What was inside of it? I asked. I'd completely forgotten about the chocolate at this point. My family's crest was on the bottom of the board, and inside was a letter written in Spanish to Queen Isabella, signed only by the name Gabriel. He said he'd found the fountain of youth. I don't know who Gabriel was, but obviously that letter never found its way to the Queen. That's incredible. Have you looked for it? You should tell somebody, this sounds like something that would be on TV. Yes, I have looked for it, and between you and me, I found it. Where is it? Believe it or not, it's beneath this store. That's why I got this job, so I could keep watch up here, while my nephew took care of the location and excavation of the entrance. You're kidding, right? No, I'm telling you the truth. In a utility closet in the basement is the entrance to a tunnel that leads to an underground pool. My nephew was able to locate the void by drilling holes in the walls and using some kind of instrument that contractors use to test compaction. Just last week, he found it. He knocked down the wall, dug a few feet, and there it was. He built a hidden door in the wall of the utility closet to keep it hidden. I feel like this is some kind of practical joke, but I'll play along. Did you drink out of it? No, I haven't. I'm sure it's just superstition, but there were other things down there too. Words carved into the walls, and a sizable amount of gold. As she said this, she pulled a Spanish doubloon out of her purse and handed it to me. I turned it over in my hand, feeling the weight of it. Would you like to see the fountain? She asked. Yes, I would. My gut was screaming at me not to go, but let's be honest, I have a hard time overcoming the temptation of chocolate, much less buried treasure. I followed the old woman downstairs, and she led me to a closet door at the far corner of the basement. Just as she'd said, there was a hidden entrance built into the back wall. She pushed it, and the whole thing swung inwards. I was stunned. I got out my phone and flipped the light on. She did the same with hers, and we walked inside. The air was cool and surprisingly fresh, but I could feel the humidity increase as we walked down a gentle curling slope. The narrow tunnel suddenly opened into a large circular room, and my light shimmered off the surface of a small pool at the center of it. The water had a strange yellow tint that grew in intensity as I shined my light directly into it. Gold coins lined the bottom of the pool. This is amazing, I said. You can have some of the coins if you want, but you'll have to jump in to get them. Something in the tone of her voice made me hesitate. This didn't make any sense. Why had she really brought me down here? If her and her nephew already knew about the gold, why would they leave it at the bottom of the pool? I took a step back, and my heel landed on someone else's foot. Long skinny fingers grabbed my shoulders and pushed me towards the water's edge. What are you doing? Stop! I yelled. I leaned back into them with all of my strength, but it wasn't going to be enough. The water was inching closer. I remembered that my purse was hanging from my shoulder. I fumbled through it, thanking God for an overprotective dad. He'd insisted that I keep a taser with me everywhere I go. In one quick motion, I pulled it out of my purse and jammed it into the assailant's ribcage. I pulled the trigger, and the man grunted as his grip loosened. I was able to duck to the side, and as I did, the man tripped over my feet and fell forward into the pool. I assumed it would be her nephew, but he was much older than I had expected. The old woman screamed and lunged at me, so I tased her too. She went rigid and fell backwards, knocking herself out on the stone floor. I looked back at the old man in the water and was horrified to see his transformation. He had aged 30 years in a matter of seconds. His sunken, helpless eyes stared into mine as they grew cloudy and still. He continued to shrivel away and rapidly mummified until all that was left were clean white bones that sunk to the bottom of the pool. I ran to the entrance of the tunnel, where my cell service returned, and called the police. While I waited for them to get there, I remembered the engravings that the old lady had mentioned. I ran back down to the pool and found them on the stone wall. They were in Spanish, which I can't read very well, so I took a picture and put it into Google Translate. The engravings read as follows. The fountain is not what it seems, it is cursed. It can't replenish youth, all it can do is transfer it. If a man gets in the pool, his life is stolen from him, and if another man drinks from the pool, he takes the stolen youth for himself. Even this is not as it seems. Drinking from the fountain changes a man. He becomes crooked, youthful in appearance, but corrupt of heart.